Some breaking news I want to get to now. The bombshell new report from the Washington Post reporting President Trump's nominee for CIA Director Gina Haspel tried to withdraw her nomination as recently as Friday, and it follows concerns raised over her role in the agency's interrogation program. Now, Trump named Haspel to take over for Mike Pompeo, who recently left and was officially confirmed as Secretary of State. Haspel is the first woman tapped to head the CIA, and one of the reporters who broke the story, also a CNN political analyst, Josh Dawsey, is joining us on the phone now. Josh, explain why Haspel reportedly tried to withdraw her nomination.
Well, there's been some serious trepidation, Anna, in the White House about this nomination for some time. With a razor-thin majority in the Senate, a lot of critics of the torture program that she was obviously a part of, enhanced interrogation, and has, been an enthusiastic supporter of, at least according to the document we reported on today. White House officials have been bracing for a pretty brutal confirmation. Our reporting indicates on Friday she was over at the White House meeting with officials about her nomination, and decided it would be best it would behoove her to withdraw. That sparked kind of a frenzied chain of events where senior White House officials, including Sarah Sanders, the press secretary, Mark Short, the legislative affairs director, rushed over to the CIA, met with her at the Langley headquarters, and basically begged her to stay in. And for about 24 hours, it was really fluid. Our reporting indicates that by yesterday afternoon, she firmly said, let's plunge ahead. Let's keep going.
So I'm trying to understand the timing of this, because the news about her involvement in the interrogation and potential waterboarding has been out there basically since she was nominated. So why is it all of a sudden a bigger concern to her, and to the point where she thinks it may be worth withdrawing?
Well, that's a good question. Our reporting indicates that a number of White House officials have begun reviewing reports more in depth in recent days, and there have been concerns that have trickled in from the Hill as staff and senators have reviewed, the information about our history. What we've been able to tell is what triggered the number of, meetings and frenzied phone calls and them rushing over to the Hill was not necessarily new information. It was just new information to White House officials. Obviously they are reviewing her file, draft reports, internal reports, interviewing people, gauging support on the Hill. And there's really a sense of concern about this nomination. And I think Haspel realized that there were a lot of folks who thought she was in a very precarious situation and thought that, it could be thwarted, and said, maybe it's just best if I step back from it.
Let me read a new statement we just got from Raj Shah, the White House Deputy Press Secretary. And it reads, Acting Director Gina Haspel is a highly qualified nominee who has dedicated over 3 decades of service to her country. Her nomination will not be derailed by partisan critics who side with the ACLU over the CIA on how to keep the American people safe. So is it your understanding, Josh, that her confirmation hearing on Wednesday is still on, and how do you expect that to play out?
Yeah, man, that's what we reported today in our story. It aligns with what Raj said in the statement, that after these 24 hours of internal debate, the White House and Gina Haspel mutually decided, let's give this a shot. I think what you're going to see are sharp questions from the left. I think you'll see sharp questions even from some moderate senators, the Susan Collins type, where she's really going to have to explain, her documented role in the interrogation, plus the destroying of tapes. That's a really critical moment here, what her role was in the destruction of these tapes that documented, what happened in the interrogation processes. So what we're sensing is that the hearing will be, must-see TV on Wednesday, obviously. There will be lots of sharp questions for her, and the White House is saying they still think by a narrow majority they could get her confirmed.
All right, Josh Dawsey, we'll keep in touch with you as these developments continue to play out. Thank you. Coming up.
Gina Haspel, President Trump's nominee to run the CIA, tried to withdraw her nomination on Friday, according to the Washington Post. Haspel's nomination has been controversial because of her role in the interrogation of terror suspects that some have labeled torture. And she's facing the prospect of a difficult confirmation hearing. CNN senior diplomatic correspondent Michelle Kaczynski joining me now from Washington. So, Michelle, it appears now that Haspel will continue to her confirmation hearing on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, but this is an interesting back and forth that is laid out by the Washington Post. So as you put out there, we knew that her nomination hearing was going to be very difficult, that Democrats have major questions about her time in the CIA. And she's very qualified. She spent more than 30 years in the CIA, but she did oversee a U.S. secret detention camp in Thailand. She supported enhanced interrogation techniques. Somebody was waterboarded at that Thailand camp while she was in charge of it. There are many questions surrounding this and how much she supported the use of torture. What are her feelings on that? However, this apparently reached a head of sorts on Friday when, not based on any real new information, according to the Washington Post, but based on a lot of the questions that were coming from members of Congress, the White House decided to summon her there on Friday. They wanted to hear what her responses were going to be to some of these very tough questions. And as a result of that, she walked away saying that she would withdraw her nomination because she was worried about this process, but also worried about how the reputation of the CIA would come out of this. According to the Washington Post story, members of the White House team then talked to her after this questioning at the White House for several hours, finally reaching the conclusion that she would retain her nomination and she would go through this hearing on Wednesday. But obviously there's worry there. There's real worry about what's going to come out of these questions. So the White House has put out a statement saying that she's qualified, that this nomination is not going to be derailed by partisan critics who would rather side with the ACLU than the CIA on keeping America safe, which is kind of an interesting thing to say, given how the president himself has at times assailed the U.S. intelligence community. But the CIA did put out a statement on this as well, saying there has been a fascinating phenomenon over the last few weeks. Those who know the true Gina Haspel, who worked with her, who served with her, who helped her confront terrorism, Russia, and countless other threats to our nation, they almost uniformly support her. That is true for people who disagree about nearly everything else. There's a reason for that. When the American people finally have a chance to see the true Gina Haspel on Wednesday, they will understand why she's so admired and why she is and will be a great leader for this agency. So come Wednesday, we will see. We'll see what these questions are and how she, you would assume now, is very prepared to answer them.
All right, Michelle Kaczynski, thanks so much.